Okay, so you're here to get up to speed and you want to do it quickly, right? We get that. Today we're going deep on global traders.
Global Traders.
Yeah, globaltradenews.us.
.us,
Yeah, you.
which, as always, you sent this our way, and we're going to take a look and see what we can figure out about this source,
Yeah.
what it is, what it might offer folks interested in, all the complexities of global trade.
Yeah, you were curious about what someone trying to understand global trade could learn from a site like this.
Right.
And, just looking at that domain name, it
Hmm.
seems pretty clear that we're talking about moving goods and services across borders, right?
Hmm.
Not just, what's happening here in the US, this is specifically international.
Exactly. And I think, in a world where the news is just so broad,
Yeah.
to have a site like this that is, globaltradenews.us, that suggests a very targeted kind of approach.
Right, it is.
So what do you think is the benefit of that specialization for someone who's really trying to, stay ahead in this field? Well, I think for someone who's really in the thick of it,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're in logistics or manufacturing or even policy,
Right.
they need to see the signals early,
Right.
right? They need to know what's coming down the pike.
Absolutely.
And a dedicated platform like this might be able to highlight shifts in trade relationships between countries or new trends in supply chain management faster than a general news site.
Right. They don't have to wait for like some big economic report to come out. They can kind of get those updates, much more quickly.
Exactly.
What other kind of information do you think someone in this field would be, kind of actively seeking out? Beyond just the headlines, what would make this a valuable resource to check, every day?
I think they'd be looking for granular detail.
Okay.
So not just, a new trade agreement was signed, but okay, what sectors are impacted by this? What are the tariff changes?
Right.
How might this affect my business?
That's interesting.
And they probably also want to track things like commodity prices or port congestion or, regulatory changes in different markets.
Wow. Yeah.
But all through
Yeah.
that lens of global trade.
Okay, so it's about that focus, right? It's about having that perspective.
Mhm.
Now, one thing that I noticed, and I'm curious to get your take,
Yeah.
is the .us in the domain name.
Yeah.
Does that mean that this is automatically like a US-centric viewpoint? Or could it just be, where the platform is based, but they actually have a global outlook?
That's a really important point, and it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of global news organizations are operating under country-specific domains.
right.
It doesn't necessarily mean they only cover things happening in that one country,
Okay.
but as a reader, you do want to be aware of that and just see if the perspective seems, skewed towards one country or if it's truly international.
Okay, so even without, seeing specific articles, we can kind of start to think about the potential value, but also the potential, nuances of this source.
Absolutely.
And I think just the scale of global trade is so
Oh,
huge.
it's massive.
Yeah,
Trillions of dollars.
yeah, exactly. Like incredibly intricate networks. So just having a dedicated place to get information about that makes a lot of sense.
Totally. And you have to think about all the layers involved, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about trade laws, customs procedures,
Right.
transportation logistics,
Right.
international finance.
Oh, it's a lot.
It's a lot. So a platform like this could give you insights into all of those different areas and help you see the connections,
Yeah, I see that.
which is hard to do if you're just piecing together information from different general news sources.
That makes sense. So for you, the listener,
Right.
our main takeaway from this, first look at global traders, globaltradenews.us, is that it seems to be very specialized.
Hmm.
It's all about this, complex and constantly changing world of international trade.
Yeah,
So it could be really useful in filtering all of the information that's out there.
definitely. And that brings us to a final thought for you to consider.
Okay.
What aspects of global trade are most important to you, whether it's for your job or just for understanding the world? Maybe you're interested in the future of global supply chains or how international regulations are impacting specific industries.
Mhm.
By thinking about your own interests, you can decide if a dedicated news source like Global Traders is something that, would be helpful for you.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up.
I agree.
So until next time,
Take care.
thanks for listening.